The day I lost everything didn't come with thunder or chaos. There were no explosions, no screams, just silence. A silence so heavy it felt like matter itself, thick, unmoving, as if the air had stopped breathing to witness my life crumble before my eyes. That's when I realized the loudest pain is not the one that shouts from the outside, but the one that whispers inside when your soul breaks and your heart forgets its rhythm. Everything I had built, everything I thought was secure, slipped through my fingers like dust. And there I stood, alone, staring at the ruins of what I once called my life. People say losing is part of living, but no one teaches you how to stand when your soul has fallen too. No one explains how to pray when faith has gone missing, when you look at the sky and feel your prayers hit the ceiling and fall back down unanswered. There are no words in that place, only a silence so dense it seems to have weight. I remember thinking, that's it. It's over. But I didn't know that what I called the end was actually the beginning of something invisible, something I would later call the discovery of what truly matters. The night stretched endlessly. Every shadow on the wall seemed to remind me of what I no longer had. I tried to sleep, but my thoughts were louder than silence. I replayed every mistake, every choice, trying to find the precise moment everything went wrong. I wondered if God had grown tired of me, or if he had simply forgotten. It hurt not to understand. It hurt not to hear his voice. And yet somewhere deep inside, something, a spark, small and fragile, refused to die. It was like beneath all the pain, a heart still beating, stubbornly, quietly. Days went by. The world kept spinning as if nothing had happened. People smiled, the streets filled with noise, the sun rose again. But I lived in a parallel universe, one where hope had no language. Still, even there, I began to notice something. Even in sadness, something unseen was holding me up. It wasn't my strength, I had none left. It was something else, something invisible. It didn't let me fall completely. I couldn't explain it, but I could feel it. In the same silence that hurt me, God was breathing beside me. I learned that pain doesn't always scream. Sometimes it teaches in whispers. Sometimes it wears the mask of stillness and reveals what must be broken to uncover what's essential. God hadn't taken things to punish me. He was emptying my hands to fill them with something better. In the middle of my ruins, he was building something I couldn't yet see. Every tear became a brick, every silence a seed. There comes a moment when the soul stops resisting and begins to surrender. Not out of weakness, out of exhaustion. And in that surrender, strangely, begins the truest prayer. You stop asking for answers and simply say, "Help me," not with words, with breath. And that's when heaven bends close, because God isn't moved by perfect speeches, but by naked truth, the kind that rises when you have nothing left to offer but your broken heart. And when you give him that, something sacred happens. Pain stops being the enemy and becomes your teacher. That was my first lesson in the valley of breaking, that sometimes God's silence isn't absence, but preparation. When you don't hear his voice, it's because he's working in a place where words can't reach. I hadn't lost everything, only what distracted me from the eternal. And through tears and sighs, that truth began to take root. If God still allowed me to wake up every morning, it meant there was still something to live, something to learn, something to heal. Faith, I discovered, isn't a flame that burns perfectly. It flickers. Some days it barely holds on, and still, it's enough. Having faith isn't walking without fear. It's walking through fear. God didn't ask for perfection. He asked for trust. But to trust, I first had to lose everything, to see that the control I thought I had was only an illusion. Life doesn't collapse because God leaves. It collapses because he's calling us to build on different ground. The old must die for the eternal to rise, and though the heart resists, it must. We crave explanations, but explanations don't heal. Faith does. And when I finally let go of my whys, something inside me shifted, not fast, not easy, but real. One night while the world slept, I heard a whisper, Not an external voice, more like a thought too soft to be my own. I'm still here. I froze. No music, no miracle. Just that phrase floating gently inside my mind. And I cried, not from pain, but from relief. Because in that instant I understood. God hadn't left. He'd just been waiting for me to stop running. From that moment on, everything looked different. Not because my life was fixed, but because my sight was. Even in my darkest hours, something had carried me. Grace. That invisible force that works precisely when you can't. Grace cannot be earned. It can only be received. And it always arrives when you feel least deserving of it. I began noticing the little things again. An unexpected call, a smile, a sunrise. They weren't coincidences. They were messages, subtle signs that my story wasn't over. Each act of love, each beam of light whispered, "Trust again." Not all pain comes to destroy. Sometimes it comes to awaken. When seen through the eyes of faith, pain becomes a mirror showing who we truly are and who we can become. My suffering became God's workshop, the place where He molded my spirit with patience. I talked less. I listened more. I stopped asking God to change my circumstances and started asking Him to change me. That prayer changed everything. Peace didn't arrive when things improved. It came when I realized He was already in the middle of them. Step by step, I began to walk again. My steps were shaky, but steady. I no longer moved out of fear, but out of faith. Life was still uncertain, but now it had meaning. And in that rediscovered meaning, I understood. I hadn't lost everything. I'd only lost the surface to find the soul, to find God within me. For the first time in years, I smiled without pretending, not because the pain was gone, but because it no longer defined me. Suffering stopped being my prison and became my witness, proof that God had been there even when I couldn't see Him. The heart learns to walk again when it finds a rhythm that doesn't depend on the world. Peace, I learned, isn't a prize for good behavior. It's a presence you discover when you stop running. Every morning I opened the window and let the air in. I breathed deeply and whispered, "Thank you." Just being alive felt sacred. My body remembered what holiness feels like. My soul settled quietly. Anxiety retreated like a tide losing strength. My mind still questioned, but my heart had learned a single answer. I am in God's hands. One afternoon, I wandered aimlessly through my neighborhood. There were puddles on the street and the sky reflected in them. Tiny pieces of heaven resting on the ground. That, I thought, is what a healing soul looks like. Cracked, but letting the light through. An elderly woman was struggling with heavy bags. I helped her carry them, and her smile was a simple miracle. Purpose, I realized, doesn't arrive as thunder. It arrives as quiet opportunities to love. When you serve, pain finds meaning. It stops being just a wound. It becomes a path. I began to rebuild my life from the inside. I turned down the noise. I stepped away from conversations that only fed emptiness. I stopped needing to be right all the time. I kept a small notebook. I wrote what hurt and what I was grateful for. Writing became prayer without decoration. Naming sadness made it smaller. Naming gratitude made my heart larger. Day by day, I found hidden treasures. A timely call, a shared coffee, a night of rest. Nothing grand, yet everything true. I learned to ask for forgiveness. At first it was hard. Pride, fear, shame. But when I did, I found that forgiveness isn't humiliation. It's a doorway. Forgiving others, and myself, made room for grace to breathe through the whole house. I released grudges I'd carried like stones. They weren't justice, they were chains. Letting go didn't change the past. It changed my pace. I walked lighter, slept deeper, looked in the mirror with mercy. You don't heal by forgetting. You heal by facing truth and choosing peace. Faith matures when it stops demanding explanations and begins practicing trust. It wasn't an idea. It was a schedule, an hour to pray, An hour to work with focus. An hour to move my body. An hour to sit with someone I love, without a screen between us. I rebuilt my days like a house after the storm. Foundations first. Honest prayer, real rest, caring relationships. Then everything else. That order brought a joy that didn't depend on news, on likes, or on results. A quiet, steady joy, the kind that keeps you standing when the wind returns. Hope, I discovered, is a discipline, not naive optimism, not pretty phrases. It's rising after you fail, trying again when you fall, choosing truth when lies offer shortcuts. Some mornings the heaviness came back, the voice saying nothing was worth it. So I answered with small actions, made the bed, cooked breakfast, wrote 3 reasons to be thankful, sent someone a message of encouragement. Tiny torches lit against the dark. At day's end, they added up. Lives are rebuilt with humble bricks. I faced the losses I'd denied, sat with the memory of those who were gone, cried slowly, spoke aloud as if they could hear me. Painful, yes, but cleansing. Love doesn't disappear when its form changes. Love that can no longer hug can still teach, still care, still guide. Honoring what I loved gave me strength to love again, without fear of losing. I began cultivating habits that fed my spirit, walking at sunrise, turning off my phone an hour before sleep, reading words that nourish instead of agitate, repeating short prayers during the day. Simple sentences followed me everywhere. Here I am, God with you. I wasn't seeking extraordinary experiences, I was seeking constancy. And constancy, over time, became home. The essential is guarded by healthy routines, by closing doors to noise and opening windows to light. I started dreaming again, but differently. Not of recognition or success, but of usefulness, of listening without judgment, of being present. The deepest success, I realized, was to look someone in the eyes and offer peace. I faced my poverty, not just material, but emotional, human, and I stopped being ashamed of it. Everyone carries their own form of poverty, limits, wounds, stories half-healed. Bringing them to God without disguise gave me freedom. When you stop trying to impress, you start to love for real. One day, under soft rain, I noticed I no longer trembled inside. Not because everything was fixed, but because I was different. Same streets, same life, new light. Faith hadn't erased the past. It had redeemed my gaze. My worth wasn't in what I had gained or lost, but in the one who held me. From then on, every decision passed through a simple question. Does this bring me closer to God and to others, or farther? If closer, I stayed. If farther, I let go. That compass kept me from many illusions disguised as promises. I chose the quiet, steady voice of conscience. And in it, I heard the patience of a father who teaches gently and lifts tenderly. I finally understood the essential is not a thing, not a place, not a goal. It's a way of living, with an open heart, with willing hands, with a clear gaze. My story stopped being about control and became about surrender, not as defeat, but as wisdom. Surrender that knows how to say yes when needed and no when right. Surrender that stands on truth even when it hurts. That asks for help without shame. That celebrates the small with gratitude. That's how purpose found me, quietly, not wrapped in fame or applause, but in simple moments. Washing dishes, talking with a neighbor, visiting someone lonely. Purpose was to love well what was already in front of me, today. To do ordinary things with extraordinary love. When I accepted that, the fear of losing shrank, because I no longer lived clinging to results I couldn't control. I lived anchored to a truth that never changes. God is with me. And when that's your foundation, everything else finds order. One day at a time, one decision at a time, one prayer at a time. That humble step, repeated faithfully, built a new life on solid ground. Then, one ordinary morning, I understood. God's love doesn't arrive like lightning. It rises like dawn. It doesn't wake you with shock. It slowly fills the room until you can see. I looked back at every night of tears, every unanswered question, and saw one invisible thread running through them all. The tenderness of a father who never stopped waiting for me. That awareness disarmed me. I didn't have to prove anything, didn't have to earn his favor. I was already loved, even in my mess. That certainty changed how I saw others. I began noticing the hidden beauty in people, even those who had hurt me. The fragility in a stranger's eyes, the exhaustion behind a smile, the loneliness in someone always pretending to be fine. I learned that God's love isn't something you keep. It's something that moves through you. To love is to let Him love through you. When old pain returned, I didn't reject it. I welcomed it like an old teacher reminding me of lessons learned, that no wound is wasted when offered to mercy. I looked at my scars and no longer saw failure but maps of grace. Each one had a name, a lesson, a promise. Where shame once lived, now gratitude grew. I began speaking to God like a friend, not begging for solutions, just sharing my days. Today I was afraid, but here I am. Today I laughed. Thank you for that. In that intimacy, I found a gentle joy. The joy of not needing a mask. Prayer, I realized, doesn't always use words. Sometimes it's a silence that trusts, and I learned that His love doesn't always feel close, but it's always working. It moves in coincidences that aren't random, in arms that hold you just when you shake, in chances to begin again. It's a love that doesn't promise absence of pain, only presence in it. That presence became my refuge. When my mind filled with doubts, I closed my eyes and whispered, "I know you're here," and my heart rested. The world started looking new. Small things, a cup of coffee, shared laughter, rain on the window, became sacred. Gratitude stopped being a reaction and became a lens. And through that lens, life itself became a prayer. In truth, it was never about recovering what was lost. It was about discovering who waited for me inside each loss. God wasn't taking me away from my destiny. He was teaching me to recognize it. The essential wasn't outside me. It was what He was awakening within. A faith not dependent on outcomes. A love without conditions. A peace without reasons. From then on, fear no longer had the final word. When pain knocked again, I answered softly, "You don't come alone. You come with God." And darkness grew thinner. Light doesn't always erase the shadows. It gives them meaning. That's the quiet miracle. Not that the world changes, but that your soul becomes clear. I stopped chasing big signs or perfect answers. I sought coherence between what I believe and how I live. And there, in that humble fidelity, I found what I had been searching for all along, the essential. Looking back, I no longer see a path of ruin. I see a sacred journey. Every loss was a doorway, every silence a conversation, every fall an embrace I didn't yet understand. It wasn't the end of my story. It was the beginning of my truth. Losing everything taught me to let go of what wasn't mine and to cherish what truly matters. Faith, peace, love, presence. Now I know. There's no night so dark that it doesn't carry a promise of dawn. God never asked me to be strong all the time. He only asked me not to let go of His hand, and even when I did, He never let go of mine. Faith, I learned, isn't about never falling. It's about trusting that a hand will always lift you up. I no longer live waiting for life to return to how it was. That's gone, and that's okay. Because life isn't about getting back what you lost. It's about blooming differently. The essential isn't having more, it's being more compassionate, more patient, more free. Now I walk slower, but with more meaning. I no longer chase what glitters, I follow what shines. Every morning when I wake, I whisper one word. Thank you. Thank you for what?